Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to the first video on Wednesday in 2022. As you know, if you follow my channel, I changed the schedule back to what it originally was, uploading Sundays and Wednesdays. So, public service announcement. Anyway, this is more of a chatty video. I haven't done one of those in a while, and I watched my backlog of, that was a little Dutch that almost slipped in here. Just finished a phone call with a Dutch colleague. Anyway, so I worked on my backlog of videos, and of course, beginning of the year, a new year, there's always plans and goals and ambitions. I made one of those videos as well, and some of the goals that you find very often regularly is I want to read more. I mean, you have these other goals. I want to focus on sci-fi. I want to reread, like me, at least a book a month, stuff like that. But there's also this broader goal. It seems that a lot of people say, and now 2022, I will definitely read more. And there are 3 videos uploaded that were uploaded last week. The first one, I think, by Olive from a book Olive, tips on how to actually read more in 2022. And then a similar kind of tips and tricks video by Ollie from Criminology. And then, of course, Steve Donahue made a reaction video. And then, of course, I will make a reaction video to his and the other 2. So if you are one of those people who wants to increase the number of reading hours or the pages or the number of books, whatever, if you want to read more, I would highly recommend both videos by Olive and by Ollie. O&O, because they are really valuable tricks of how to, that you have to set aside time, for instance, that you have to be, willing, for instance, to shut off your phone if you want to concentrate, because it breaks your concentration if you continuously, while you read, answer text messages or WhatsApps or what have you. It will take at least 15 to 20 minutes to get you back into concentration. Anyway, that's not what this video is mostly about. First of all, my thing is more, is it really something we should strive for, to read more? I mean, I'm always, a quality over quantity. But of course, when you are on Booktube and when you are on Goodreads, you set your goal. And we have this probably very capitalist notion in the West, especially, that everything has to be increasing, our income, our national product, our what have you. The volume always has to increase, and I don't feel that is a very good approach for books. I mean, if you are an ambitious reader and you just want to read more and you're fine with it, and you love it, challenging yourself, go right ahead. But for a lot of people, I feel it's undue pressure. Last year I read only 20 books, or I read only 120 books. So this year I have to, I can see the point, and I'm not completely free of it, especially when you get older. You always know that your reading time is limited, but the older you get, the less time you have. And then if you look at, I read X amount of books per year, and I'm now 60, so maybe I can read still, and that is a tiny amount. And then you might want to increase it, but in the end, I would say it's more important that you have books each year that really stick out for you. And Steve made this point, and Steve is, I think, at least he is the person that I know that reads the most. I mean, he reads about 2 or 3 books a day. So that makes him 1,000 books a year or something. He's never officially announcing the number, but that's what you have to think about. So I don't know anybody who reads more than him. And he made, I think, the very good point that we sometimes forget, that even if you have read last year 20 books more than the year before, it doesn't mean that it was, a better reading year. Not at all. It's sometimes reading more, you can feel accomplished in the sense that you wanted to read 120 books and you read 125, and that feels very accomplished, but that doesn't make it a good reading year necessarily. If all the 125 books were fabulous, congratulations, you had a fantastic reading year. But more and more people that I see videos of want to focus more on the fact that a good reading year is books that you enjoy, or that entertained you, or that educated you, depending on what you want to get out of reading. So I even though I'm one of the people who sets a goal, but I don't feel oppressed by it at all. And the other thing that I wanted to add to the discussion is for people who feel that they, don't read enough, or that the pressure of reading more sort of takes over. My advice is the advice that I got when I had issues with writing, that I felt pressure, of writing more, and I'm not productive enough, and it's only a page a day, and blah, 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 blah. And the advice I got was, don't write for 2 weeks. That was hard, because 3 days into these 2 weeks, I thought, I want to write. And I think it's the same with reading. Sometimes you just have to gain, I'm making this kind of gesture, to reassure yourself or to re-establish the fact that you actually want to read, and that it's not the pressure or whatever why you do it, but it's because you want to do it. And if you lost that, then it might help if you force yourself to set a a week, 7 days. And you will definitely, if you want to read, and it's not just something that a chore, or that you want to have to think that you have to do, after 2 or 3 days, or maybe 4, you will come back to reading, with like, I want to read. That's the beginning that you should have if you want to have a new beginning in the new year. The other thing is that if you have issues with setting aside time, again, watch those videos. They give really good tips how to do that. And if you, what I want to add to this is all 3 of them, and especially also Steve, rightfully stressed the fact that reading should be a joy. You should enjoy your reading. Not necessarily every book is an enjoyable, happy book. I mean, there are books that are about horrible stuff. If you read Toni Morrison, she writes about racism, and it's heartbreaking, but it's still the act of reading should be enjoyable, and you should read what you want to read and what you enjoy reading. Again, no pressure there either. If you read only sci-fi and you're happy with it, go read sci-fi. If you read only romance and you're very happy with it, go read only romance. If you, however, feel that you would like to broaden the scope of what you're reading, and you don't know how, like Steve mentioned, ask advice. And you can, for instance, Steve, you can mail him. Do you have suggestions? I want to start reading nonfiction, and I would like to read about the history of China. Do you have recommendations? He will have recommendations. Your bookstore might have recommendations. So there are people who can recommend books to you if you want to branch out, into romance or into crime or into contemporary literature. There are always people who can help you. And I just want to add to that it definitely helps when you are starting something, branching out, if you read it together with somebody. Find yourself a buddy reader. Not necessarily somebody who is also reading sci-fi for the first time, but somebody who wants to read this particular book with you, because it helps you, get over this sort of starting issue. Oh, this is weird, and I don't know whether I understand it. And if you read it with somebody, that's a joy already. So that would be my tip. And the last thing is that there is always this discussion about I'm a very slow reader, and people who speed read or read faster. And of course, there are people who read faster, there are people who read slower. But it's not, that everybody except you reads faster. That's just not true. So again, get rid of the pressure that you have to read a certain amount of words. If you read 150 or 200 words a minute and you are happy with your reading, there is absolutely no need to increase your speed. None whatsoever. If you enjoy it, if that's the way you want to read, perfect. If you consume books only through audio, that's the way you like it, perfect. There is nothing wrong with any of that. But if, however, you feel that you would like, not because of the pressure, but that you would maybe like to increase your speed, that also would increase your enjoyment if you could read faster, then of course there are certain tricks and tips, and you only have to Google reading faster on YouTube. You find a lot. And one issue that I want to mention is we all learn to read by subvocalizing. So in other words, most of us, don't want to say all, but most of us, and certainly in the West, the education system works that you learn phonetic. You have phonetic learning if you learn to read. You learn the vowels, how they sound, how they look. There is a connection between how it looks and how it sounds, and you start reading by reading it out loud. And you internalize that. So most of us, even when we have been reading for 20 years, we still, what then is called subvocalize. Some people actually murmur, some people actually move their lips or their tongue with closed lips, and that definitely slows down your reading, because you can, the speed that you can talk, even if you are like me, a very fast talker, but that is definitely slower than what you can look when you read with your eyes. So if you are one of those people subvocalizing, with moving your lips or your tongue or even murmuring, the best way to stop that is just chewing gum while you read, because that will keep your mouth, your speaking apparatus occupied, and you will see that you increase the reading speed considerably. Most of us, however, subvocalize only internally. That means we don't mouth the words, we don't murmur the words, we don't move our tongue, we just, read aloud in our heads. That is also slower, but it's more difficult to get rid of. It sort of bothered me at a certain point, because I had to read a lot for work. Boring stuff, and you want to increase the speed. So I wanted to get rid of subvocalizing, and what helped me most, there are two sort of methods, general standard methods to get rid of that internal talking. And the first one is to count out loud. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 while you're reading. I tried that, and the disadvantage of that for me was that you definitely lose comprehension of the text, because it's like, you have somebody talking to you and you have the words on the page, and that cancels each other out, at least for a certain percentage. So that didn't quite work for me. What worked for me to get the subvocalization, to get rid of it, was tapping on the chair or the table that is next to you. And we have a t-shirt situation again. Some things never change, not even in the new year. And the tapping, for some reason, made my voice in my head silent. And the third method that I feel is also working really well is reading with your finger at a quite a considerable speed, so that your voice just can't keep up the voice in your head, because your eyes are much, much faster than the speaking. So if you feel for some reason, for work or even for pleasure reading, that it would increase your pleasure if you read faster, then the only thing I can really advise you is get rid of the subvocalization, either the actual speaking or the talking in your head, because that will increase your speed immensely. But my main message is just read the way that you feel happy with, and ask yourself, is this something that I want to change for some reason, in quantity, in quality, in range, in speed? And if not, just carry on, even if it's a new year. How zen is that for 2022? Anyway, go watch those 3 videos that I mentioned. Certainly, if you want to have tips and tricks to speed up your reading or to read more, let me know how you feel about your reading, whether you feel pressure to read a certain amount, or whether you want to feel pressure to increase the number of pages. I'm really interested. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.